Hello and welcome back to Excelsive. Today we are going to go into something that you might be using daily, filters. But you will learn the more advanced version of it, aptly named advanced filters. I'm sure you have already used the regular filters, so advanced filters will be a child's play for you. But I am going to show you some neat tips and tricks that you can use with your data, and most importantly, advanced filters is one of the favorite topic of interviewers. So if you're seeking a career in Excel, this is going to help you a lot. Let me give you a sneak peek of what we are going to cover in this video. We will briefly start with the regular filters, show you a couple of tips which, if not most, some of you might not know about. Then we will move on to the topic of the day, advanced filters, and show you how to effectively use them and tackle a common problem which most of us face when we want to put our filtered values to another sheet. We get an error that it can only work on active sheet. Then we have saved the best for the last. We are going to make this function dynamic. Well, kind of. As you know, we are going to use a menu item which are not dynamic, and you have to change the parameters in order to change the result. But we have a workaround. So stick around, and by the end, you will be able to amaze your colleagues and interviewers alike. So today we have sales data of our office supplies company for the current year from January 2023 to September 2023. We have the dates of the orders, client's name, their city, country, region, item, and finally the quantity. If you haven't already noticed, let me clarify that this data is in a table and not in a range. Why am I using a table rather than a regular range? Because I am expecting my data to grow and I want to make my analysis future-proof. So if any new data is added to the bottom, since we still have a quarter to go before this calendar year ends, it's most likely there will be more line items that are added later on. So if we use tables, our data that we are going to pull using advanced filters will also be updated accordingly. Let's start with filters. If you are working with a normal range in Excel, you can get the filters by pressing Ctrl, Shift, and L. But if you convert your data to tables like this, filters come up automatically. So you already know how to filter this data, right? Let's see. If you want to see the data for the month of January, it's easy. We just go to the date column, open filter here, and just select January from the list, press OK. And here we have only those line items where the date is from January. Same thing goes for the city, country, or region. That's pretty basic. You may also know about the search box in the filters. Let's go to the item filter and type paper up here. So if you have a very long list of items, you can find them effectively using this tip. You may already know about custom filters in columns with numbers. Like if we go in a quantity filter and go down here, you will find many options like equals, greater than, less than. But down here, we have some interesting options such as top 10, above average, and below average. Let's choose top 10. And Excel shows us the list of top 10 highest numbers, which in our case are quantity of items. Similarly, you can choose above average. A side note, you can clear the previously applied filter by choosing this option, clear filter from quantity. And now let's go to number filters again and choose above average. And we have all the values which are above average. Most of us have used number filters at least once in their career. But do you know we have a text filter option as well? Let's go in our filter in the item column and then text filters. And here we have text options equals, does not equal. These are pretty self-explanatory. And then we have begins with and ends with. Begins with is easy. Say you wish to filter all the items that start with P, so you use this option. Let's see what is this ends with option. When we click on it, we get this dialog box. This is what is known as custom auto filter. You can also get to this option if you go in your text or number filters, and this will be the last option. Let's put ER in this box here and press enter. And here we have all the item names that end with ER. Let's clear this filter and let me show you the barrage of options under the custom auto filter. Let's go in filters again and choose custom filters. Last time when we chose the ends with option, we had that option selected. But this time if we go into this drop down here, you will find multiple options, and the best part, you have the option for adding second criteria as well using the AND operator and the OR operator as well. Now that should be enough about the regular filters. Let's move to the topic of the day, advanced filters. Before we jump into practical examples, let's understand what advanced filters are and why they are essential for Excel users. Advanced filters in Excel are a set of powerful tools that allow you to filter and extract data from a table or range based on multiple criteria. They offer more flexibility and control than standard filters, making data analysis a breeze. This time, we have the same data, again in a table, but if you look on the right side of this table, I have prepared the headers and some drop-down lists of the items in that column. For instance, the date drop-down has the dates in it from our main table, company name has the company names, and so on and so forth. Only the quantity column doesn't have a drop-down. That's because there will be too many unique values in the drop-down, and also we have a plan to use it for a much better purpose. Just below them, I have copied and pasted the headers. These are just the headers and no values or formulas. Let's put down some criteria set up here in our drop-downs. Let's say we want to see the orders for pencils. So we go down to our drop-down in our item cell and select pencils from the drop-down. Let's keep it simple for our first example, so we'll just have this one criteria. Now let's find the advanced filters under the Data tab right here in Sort and Filter group. Let's see the options we get when we click on it. Before we do that, let's make sure we are in the table. We are, so we are good to go. First, we have two options to choose from under Action. Both are pretty self-explanatory. The first one says if we want to filter the list in place, meaning if we wish to filter our main data where it's at. The second option is copy to another location. We'll choose this option. The next is list range, and we have to mention the location of our data which we want to filter. So let's click on this up arrow here and select our full table, headers and all. The second option asks for criteria. Let's choose that. We are going to choose the whole thing, headers and the drop-downs as well. The last option is copy to. By the way, if you haven't chosen this option, copy to another location up here, this option will be grayed out. This wants the location where we want our data filtered to. You know, if you use regular filters and you had to paste all the orders of pencils, you would have gone in the filters, chose pencils, and then copy and pasted the data wherever you wanted. But with advanced filters, you don't have to do that. Just show the location where you want your filtered data to be, and Excel does the copying and pasting. So we click on this up arrow here and select our headers, just the headers from here. Lastly, we have an option to choose unique records only. It won't apply to our example here, so we leave it unchecked. Click on OK, and here we have all the orders for our pencils listed here. And it has copied and pasted everything. That's pretty neat. Let's kick it up a notch. Let's filter these by one of our client and product too. Let's leave pencils in our item and choose this one here, Data Pulse Technologies. Notice that we still have the data from our last try mentioned here. We have not removed it. Now let's go to our advanced filters, and you see all our options are already there, barring the one to copy and paste to another location. So we click on it to copy to another location, verify our cell references here, and everything looks fine. Hit OK, and all the data from our last filter is replaced by a new one. That's pretty neat. You wish to check for some other company and another product? No problems. Let's choose Biofusion Pharmaceuticals in company name and desk organizer in item. Go back to advanced filters, click here to copy to another location, and here we have our data. Remember, I didn't had any drop-down filter and quantity columns up here? Didn't I said I have a plan to put it to much better use? Here it comes. You can use this as options under number filters. Greater than, less than, etc. Let's try that now. Let's remove the company name from here and select pencils under item. Now let's mention greater than 7500 under quantity. Get to our advanced filters, copy to another location, and there we go. all the orders of pencils that are greater than 7,500. You can check with the name of the company as well. Let's see. In this data here, we have Data Pulse Technologies, which have two orders of pencils, which are greater than 7,500. So we select Data Pulse Technologies in our company, go to our advanced filter, and here we have the same two orders. So you can play around with all these drop downs and extract what you want. Now let's move on to a common error people face while using advanced filter. There might be instances where you wish to paste your data in some other sheet rather than pasting on the same sheet as we did here. So let's try that. Let's click on advanced filters and select copy to another location. And let's choose this sheet here. I already have the headers here. So just like the last time, we will select the headers on the new sheet as our location and hit OK. And this is the error that we get. You can only copy filtered data to an active sheet. You would think that you are filtering data to an active sheet. I mean, this one here has all your data and we have been working on it all along. But in effect, that's not the case. Let me show you. Let's move to a new sheet and now click on advanced filters. It's all blank. So let's choose our list range, go to the previous sheet, choose a whole table. Next up is criteria range. Again, select the criteria from the old sheet. By the way, if you want, you can also bring the criteria to the new sheet as well. That's no issues. Now the last option, copy to. Let's select the headers on a new sheet. Hit OK and done. We have our data. This way, you can circumvent the active sheet error we were getting earlier. This does look neat and tidy, but there is an issue with this tidiness. Every time you click on the advanced filter, you will have to select all the values again. Remember in a last example when we had everything on the same sheet, all the options came pre-filled and we just had to click on OK? It would be grand if we could have something like that, isn't it? Well, I have the next best thing to that. Do you know you can give names to your ranges and then instead of going and selecting the whole thing, you can simply use the names? Let me show you. Let's select our main table here and go to this box here. If you hover your cursor here, it comes up as name box. Let's name this as sales. Now let's select our criteria cells, header row and the drop down row as well. And let's name this as criteria. Finally, let's also select our headers in a new sheet and name them filtered data without any spaces since you can't have spaces in here. Now let's get back to our new sheet and bring up advanced filters. In our first option, instead of going back to select our data, just press F3 and it brings up all the names. Select sales from here. Now the next one, select if anything is already there and press F3. Choose criteria. And finally the last option, choose filter data and hit OK. And here we have our advanced filters working on a new sheet. But there's still something that can be worked upon. I think that going to the advanced filter button can be quite tedious at times. Is there a way that we can make it dynamic or maybe as close to dynamic as it can be? You bet there is. We're going to dabble a little bit into macros for this. Don't be afraid, it's pretty easy. Macros are a recorded set of instructions which can be played back and save you from doing them yourself. Like we have to click on the advanced filter button, change all the values and then do them again the next time. A small macro can record all these steps and the next time when we have to do all that, we simply run that macro and boom, job done. Let's create a macro. Go to the View tab and at the last you will find macros. Click on this arrow here and you will see record macro. It asks for a macro name. Let's name it ADV filter. Now the moment I click on OK, the macro will start recording all my steps. But don't worry, if you take some time in finding the data tab and advanced filters like this, the macro is only recording the steps, not the time taken to reach there. So now we are in our options. Let's select this and press F3. Choose sales. Select this, F3, criteria, and finally choose filter data. Hit OK. Now let's stop the recording of macro. Make sure you do stop the recording, otherwise it will keep on recording everything you do. Now let's check our macro. Let's get back to criteria and change something. Let's only have desk organizers in our item list and get back to our new sheet. View tab, macros, and this time choose macros. And here we have our macro ADV filter. Click on run and there you go. Let's try something else. Get back to our criteria and bring up all the orders that have quantity greater than 10,000. Run our macro again from view tab and done. So that really helps. Let's take it one step further. I don't want to go to the view tab every time and click on macro and then choose macro and run it. What if I have many macros? I don't want to go through the list of macros and find the one for this. I want a button that when pressed does all this. So let's create one. Let's go to the Insert tab, Shapes, and select whatever shape you want. I'll choose this one. Now let's draw the square or rectangle here. Let's add some coolness to it. Let's give it shadow effect. Go to Shape Effects and go to Shadows. Let's go with this one. Nice. Now let's go to the text box, click here and type refresh. Let's get the font size right and done. Now right click on it and go to Assign Macro. Here we have our macro. Choose this, hit OK and done. Now the fun bit. Let's test this. Let's change our criteria to item quantities more than 14,000. Get back to our macro button, click on it and boom. Now that's more like it. You know what? I should have brought the criteria to this new sheet as well. This going back and forth isn't helping. Well, you can do that with your sheet. Before I go, let me give you a vital piece of information. This file has a macro and therefore cannot be saved as a normal XLSX file. I mean, you can save it like that, but then you will lose the macro. Like if I choose Ctrl S, I'll get this warning. If I click yes, it will remove the macro and save the file. In other words, all the work that we did goes down the drain, and moreover, imagine what will happen the next time you want to flaunt your Excel skills to your boss and colleagues by showing this marvel that you created only to find you didn't save the file with the macro and now you are just hurting your fingers by repeatedly clicking on that mouse to no result. Let's save everyone from such a horrid situation and go to File, Save As, and from here choose Excel Macro Enable Workbook .xlsm. Now we are good to go. That brings us to the end of the video. Thanks a ton for sticking around. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more Excel tutorials, tips, and tricks. Give us a thumbs up, share this video, and help us with YouTube algorithm and other Excel enthusiasts with something new to amaze their colleagues and bosses. Keep watching Excelsive, keep practicing, keep exploring. Until next time, happy spreadsheeting.